Alrighty. Hello everybody, this is DM Travel Typhoon here. Welcome back to Hearts of Iron for Equestria War with the Austerland deer race. And for the first time ever, this is not being this voice here is not post edit. I got OBS to work. Yes! No more that trying to keep track with what I'm saying. And I can't speak normally. What the hell? You can tell how well this is going to go. Okay. So last time we left off, we just finished doing Seal Attacks Deer. We gotta go through all this because, frankly, I'm planning to get to the very least down to here today. So here we go. So. Let's do the new trade charter as we wait to get things rolling for us to go. we currently got 1 experience. Yay. What's our fuel? Aye, right? Who to pick? I'm gonna go with Pizza. You're up. Go do some exercises. We'll be out of fuel in less than a year. All right. A new trade charter. Let's take a look-see, shall we? I'm gonna pause the game for a sec. Despite the almost feudal state of its economy, the Austerland's position among the trade routes between the River Coalition and Southern California ensured that its commerce grew by a small amount every year. Thanks to this, Austerland now had enough capital to set up a new trading center, which would bring a healthy profit to its owner and enable the state to invest in the local economy. As the Jarl, Ygritte had received the newly created charter as her personal property and could invest the profits however she wished. Her investment would be seen as a statement of her support to whatever group received it, which complicated the matter immensely. Because of course she can't just throw wealth to the common people. The word leads will have a full throw of fit. They'll call it socialism. Wait. Let's not bring real world politics in this. We're discussing about politics. On one hoof, she could use the profits to finance the expansion of Heimstall. Heimstall? Hamstall? Hamstall? Hamstill? That word. A burgeoning manufactory that has been established by the cropmen several years ago. Alternatively, she could invest the profits in expanding her personal armory, allowing her smiths to produce more weapons and to purchase more advanced manufacturing equipment. Lastly, she could just pawn it off to some noble who was willing to pay for it. That would no doubt please the nobles. Well, we don't have that third option, so... Alright, shall we... A... decide to invest in the manufactory, where we get 1 civilian factory, or... Oh. Oh. Oh, no. Okay, so... Okay, well, one of these things actually gives us an actual benefit, which is the civilian factory, because we need to build stuff. We need to build stuff. There's just no going around it. Okay, assisting the Carls. Carl, that kills people. Oh god, I just did it myself. Yes, I'm old. Alright. Moving on. As we wait for the... So we now have... one factory. Building one factory, which will be done in... forever. Oh boy. This is gonna go well. And we're still having no political power. Assisting the Carls. Well, that one... Oh, okay. That just gives us a pony power. Let's do the old thing, shall we? Wild thing. Da, 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 da. You make my heart sing. Da, da, da. You make everything groovy. You know it's the all thing. Oh, dear Lord. Ooh. Repairing? Well, that gives us a quick cause again. Thank you very much. That gives us a... That saves our fuel economy. Call upon the all thing. The all thing secession. No, not secession. Session. The session. We're not leaving the Californian continent at any point in time. One of the greatest aspects of the Austerland system of governance is the all thing. Oh boy. Reading this stuff, well, having a running nose doesn't help. Anyways. Gathered at the command of the High Jarl, the All Thing serves as the General Legislative Assembly of Austerland, as well as its highest judicial body. The All Thing is at the very core of Austerlandian society, and it was critical for any new Jarl to call it to session as soon as possible. The Assembly itself, composed of the 63. I'm not dyslexic. Jarls of Austerland. How many nobles? 23, 34, 68? Oh, 63? Gotcha. As well as the Gojis. Gogais. From the local temples. That's where I'm gonna need a Norwegian person to say to pronounce to me that name. Anyways, where was I? With each one representing the free deer that lived within their land. Our Jarldom is considered the personal property of the deer that owns it. And can be bought and sold just like any other piece of property. So now what, everybody? Here's established titles. You can be a lord in Scotland. If you fall for that scam, I am so sorry for you. Though in practice, families tend to keep a tight hold on their jarldoms. Really? Really? Well, that just has no basis in real life at all. Looking at you, Wahlbergs. Alright. Waltons. At a glance at the all thing might seem like any other parliament. But an important factor that distinguishes it from others is the fact that every session is, in theory, open to any free deer that wants to attend. While this commitment to letting at least some of the commandeer a view into the inner workings of government might be admirable, it did tend to result in sessions were looking more like crazed feasts than proper assemblies. We're Vikings. They tend to be feasting after a good raid. And we're going that off from from the History Channel. Alright, where was I? And this year's session certainly didn't seem to be bucking that the trend. Indeed, the first outing of High Jarl Ygritte might go down in history as one of the most turbulent sessions of Parliament within Austerland. Several Jarls were maimed or killed in Halmgangs, a type of ceremonial duel. Let's call them duels. The various merchants attending the outing made sure that no legislating will be done while Adir was sober. And the veritable horde of commandeer present made sure that the festivities were lively. All in all, a very successful showing of the new Jarl. Well, that went well. Could have been worse. I disagree. Several people died. Oh, dear Lord. Okay. Let's go to the meat hall. I'm trying to make Bridget a berserker. If I can. I don't know how you can do it. But we're gonna try. After all, she is the child of a bandit chief, taught in his ways to fight. She is a warrior at heart. Ow. I bumped in my chest. Actually got the Qapla' from Klingon and it just hit the wrong area. Ow. 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 As we wait. I think I'm waiting for long. Pause! The meat hall! We're gonna get plastered tonight. The ferocious deer of Austerland have fought both each other and the local inhabitants of the country. Hang on, I got a fly that's flying into my face. Get away from me, fly. Of the country ever since it was settled. And thus there exists a large and powerful martial caste within Australian society. These warriors have traditionally kept close ties amongst themselves. And no proper town is complete without a warrior's lodge. Ever heard of the companions? An order of warriors that fights if the coins are good enough. Oh great, now I want to play Skyrim. Moving on, move on, before I do that. And of all the lodges in Austerland, none are greater than the one located in Hornvik, the one Ygritte stood before. The great wooden structure known as Hirdagur by the locals sit at the edge of a small peninsula with its back towards the sea, while getting access without completing the prerequisite. The trials of strength that would normally be impossible. Her position as Jarl let her pass past normal tradition. With a small amount of trepidation, Ygritte threw open the doors to the main hall and then promptly ducked to avoid a stray throwing axe. Oh dear God! They hate you! The inside of the logs could charitably be described as festive. Oh. Great, so we got a drunkard throwing axes now. As the mightiest deer of Austerland caroused, fought, and regaled each other with stories of their exploits. Winning over this bunch would surely be a challenge. I mean, look, if they're like Klingons, appeal to the sense of honor, don't duck away from a duel, and for God's sake, drink till you're drunk, and start throwing axes. That'll make you friends really quick. The warriors welcomed you as one of their own. See? You made progress! Yes! So, at the moment, we got... Let's look here. The nobility's opinion, they hate us. The warriors, they love us. The commandeer, we're at the meh category. Oh boy! I gotta work on them. And now I gotta work on the nobles. Oh boy, okay. So, nobles, what type of bribe do I need to give you? Do you want lands? Do you want me to conquer Barad? Casa? And I'll give you lands there? Do you need an issue of Crap magazine? Inside brilliant joke there. Do you require assistance on trying to get some things done? Or do you just want cold hard cash? I just noticed the bomb here and I'm going, oh dear God, they're gonna hit us way more. The Grand Feast! Oh dear God, this is gonna go wrong. The Feasts of Austerland, like most of their other traditions, tended to be an exercise in chaos more than any organized event, as each Jarl was expected to show up with his own personal contribution to the event. Discord will be a well home there. This, in turn, meant that while the feast varied in cuisine and entertainment, there was little to no coherent organization behind it. But as the Ygritte saw the revelry unfold before her, she was convinced that the feasts of Austerland stood head and shoulder over whatever the ponies could hope to muster up. I mean, we've seen the Grand Gothic Gala. If it takes Discord to liven that place up, that the Celestia has a blast, Ygritte's not wrong. But the least significant part of the feast was the feast itself. Far more important were the connections that could be made during them, as no deer of importance in Austerland will refuse to show up at a grand feast being held by the Jarl herself. Every notable deer within the country had shown up. Great! We made progress! The most respectable and prestigious members of the All Thing were gathered around her, and naturally a few fights have broken out already. Some fool Jarl had decided to bring along an entire retinue of Viking along. Oh dear God, he brought bodyguards. He brought the drunken people who likes to throw axes at buildings. Okay. This is already lively than the Grand Gala, everybody. Two Jarls were fiercely arguing about which one's contribution to the feast was better. Oh dear God, guys. I don't care. If one of you brought the spotted dick and the other one brought haggis, I don't care. It's food. It's food. And a dispute about a dead housecarl had turned violent. He's dead. But then again, he'll probably enjoy the violence. If Ygritte didn't do something soon, the entire feast would erupt into a frenzy of violence. And while a nice spicing and conflict would live in her feast up a bit, she did need to divert her attention if she wanted to get anything done today. Tell them about the story about the ass and the honeycomb. Wrong joke! Wrong story! Okay. So, obviously, the nobles hate us. They hate us completely. So, I'm going to say, nobles, you're gone. We're going to face with the commandeer and the warrior clan. If you guys are going to stop me, we'll go, okay, revolution, revolution. We're going to spread that communist cheer. A little revolution is a healthy thing. Time and again, it's a very healthy thing, don't you think? Why did I just summon Redactor? As I now drink, as I wait for the But the newest article, the Equestria Games. The annual celebrations of the Equestria Games in the Crystal City. Basically, you just watch that spec episode and be done good with it. Okay, I'm not gonna read this one. Quaint, but not concerned. Yeah, you could just went, huh, okay. thank you. Open the fire. Done. Now I take a drink some water. After all, reading dries your mouth really fast. Okay. The excess land. As Ygritte began to settle into her role as Jarl, she quickly grew used to one of the most common tasks given to her, namely settling land disputes between rival nobles. Oh dear lord. Jarl! Hans has too much land! I wanted that beachfront property! Oh dear lord, what the heck? Okay. Austerland was not a very large country. No, really. And any access of land available would quickly be claimed by the nearest noble family as part of their domain. Really. Inevitably leading to a patchwork of conflicting claims that would eventually lead to conflict if not resolved. No shit. But today, dispute was far from normal, as in a display of incompetence so great they genuinely managed to impress Ygritte. Oh dear God, how bad is this? Two noble families had somehow managed to wipe each other out completely during a blood feud. Oh. Okay, yeah, that's bad. Leaving a large parcel of land with no clear living claimant. And in such cases, it fell upon the Jarl to dispute. No, not dispute. To distribute the land to however she saw fit. The most obvious solution will be to simply give it over to the nobles to argue over, saving herself the headache of trying to figure out this mess that had appeared before her. Otherwise, she could just do what she wished. But showing overt favor to any social group in Austerland will surely anger the others. We're gonna give to the warriors. Why? Because screw the nobility. Okay, we're not gonna solve some disputes here, because the disputes must be dealt with. How bad can it be when a blood feud literally wipes up both families? Then again, Romeo and Juliet was a thing. Alright. As I now wait to see what happens in the 5th day. What we're going to do next? What are we doing? Are you done repairing yet? No? Okay. The dispute. I'm going to close you again. Thank you. But one of the most important roles of the Jarl of Austerland is resolving feuds between the various noble families within the country. Indeed, one of the primary reasons the position was really created in the first place was to stop the entire country from killing each other every few years. So you got a bi-yearly purge that you didn't want it to happen? Good idea. But while Ygritte did her best to nip any budding feuds in the bud before they could grow into something serious, sometimes it was impossible, as I get more comfortable in this chair, to resolve every single argument in a timely manner. It all started, as most feuds did, over a crime so petty it was barely worth mentioning. The two nobles involved, oh, for the love of God, Hafringa, in the deep-minded, and Kjartan Sorlikson. Oh dear Lord. Why did I pick the country that follows the Norwegian way of spelling and language. Oh, dear Lord. Well, you want to be fucking dear, so here we go. Have been attending the grand feast, only for a scabbard owned by one of the Hafringer's retainers to go missing. Days later, it was found in a nearby swamp, and after a few heads had been knocked over, the culprit was found to have been Kjartan's son, who had mistakenly taken it in a drunken stupor during the feast, and subsequently lost it. Kjartan offered to pay for the replacement of the scoreboard, but the Hafringer found the sum to be insultingly low and refused to accept it. Dude, the guy acknowledges that his son did it wrong here. He's giving you money to replace a scabbard. Not a sword, a scabbard. It's not that expensive to begin with. Later that week, one of Hafringer's thralls had been found stealing from the Kjartan's granary, and was quickly killed by the annoyed Kjartan. This prompted Hafringer to send a cadre of Vikinger over to the Kjartan's estate to collect payment for the dead thrall, without asking Kjartan for permission. On and on the feud went until eventually Kjartan's son was killed by a drunk Viking in Hafringer's employ, leading to a series of revenge killings that were ready to spill out into open warfare between the two houses at any moment. Oh boy. The nobles had decided to appeal to Ygritte for aberration to prevent the feud from escalating further. And something clearly had to be done. Screw you. The land's not mine. It now belongs to my lawyers. We are just screwing over the nobility. Oh. Like they hate us. But our warriors, if we go to civil war, they're going to go, alright, we'll back you up, fam. Oh, dear Lord. Okay. Like, oh, the nobles hate us. Okay, controlling the land. There we go. So now we've got to drink some more water. We now have 3, and after I was doing 4. Oh yeah, okay, we do have 1. Oh, this is gotta be valuable. I need more dockyards. We're Vikings, but we only have 1 dockyard. Oh! Piccolini becomes Prime Minister! Up, and the Griffonian Emperor is dead. Okay, game. Give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Poor Griffin. Interesting. He'll be a threat. And the matters of bureaucracy. Oh, dear Lord. Here we go. As the Jarl of Austerland, Ygritte had the right to claim strategic areas that bordered the neighboring nations of Austerland for the purposes of natural defense. Sounds reasonable. And a recent survey of the border between Austerland and Barad have found a series of villages that were precariously ill-defended due to neglect from the local nobles. Oh, really, guys? You had 1 job! Being vulnerable to a possible raid by the crazed wizards of the Magocracy, the tier being abducted for some vile magical experiments. Ygritte quickly set about claiming the region and reinforcing the border with proper defenses. But as she was now the owner of the villages and the surrounding areas, she had to determine what to do with the administration of the region. She could very simply give it out to some noble, no doubt please them merely by making them feel important. Alternatively, she could as a reward to some of our more renowned retainers, bolstering the legion's defenses and increasing the loyalty of the deer sworn to her. Or I really just let the commandeer. Lastly, she could just let the villages themselves handle the administration. They would no doubt be happy to be able to exercise some autonomy for a change. You know, our warriors are already dedicated enough. Commandeer, rule your thyself. You know what you guys need. We'll let you tell it. So for now, for the moment, they're average. Nobility hate us, but we don't care. After all, the quote of fanfic I read at one time: "What is a lord without the people? Nothing. They're just one man or one lady." Like seriously, it's just a title, guys. We move beyond that such frivolous things in life. Alright. Let's get back to land review. Well, the moment we got all our troops at Barrage, so we're covered there. The bandit issue. If this deer judged to have killed another deer without killing it, letting it draw its weapon, or is found guilty of crimes or so egregious that they are unforgivable, yet not deserving of death, that deer is judged an outlaw. As an outlaw, the deer may not enter any civilized settlement of Austerland, and has no protection by the laws of the realm. Any outlaw may be slain without punishment, and dealing with one is considered bad luck, making them social pariahs. As a result of this, many of Austerland's outlaws are forced band all together to form bandit groups, pillaging their way through the bandit countryside in an effort to survive. Ygritte knew the banditry power within her realm had grown far beyond acceptable levels, but she cannot deny that many of these deer have no other choice but to turn to such a lifestyle. Her army was mighty enough to root out the most troublesome groups and direct assaults and to wrap up the rest over a few weeks of effort. Perhaps there would be letting capable deer to go to waste. If these bands could be persuaded to work for her, she would gain a force of deer trained in combat and not beholden to anyone but herself. The most useful thing to have within Austerland. But such an action will fly in the traditions of Austerland, and will do little to endear her to the nobility. But after a few hours of contemplating, Ygritte made up her mind. Okay, we're going to do this option because again, our warriors are still devoted to us. So, sorry, they're back down to dependable, and the commander discount is low. So we're very damn good. So we're good on that front. The Viking question. Here we go. While Austerland does produce some of its wealth through traditional economic methods, it cannot be denied that the vast majority of the coin that flows through Austerland comes by the way of the Vikings. Going on in a Viking is something of a rite of passage for all deer within Austerland. But the ones who truly dedicate themselves to the endeavor can easily become some of the most dangerous and wealthy deer in the entire country, so long as they survive, that is. Although going on a Viking does not inherently mean that a deer attempts to raid and pillage, as is common for deer to trade with foreign merchants during a Viking. In practice, the richest and mightiest of the Vikings are still primarily focused on raiding. While this does mean that most Vikings are skilled in combat, it does tend to attract more unsavory characters to the lifestyle. The Vikings are away for most of the year, returning only when they are satisfied with their plunder from their journey. But when they return, it is a sight to behold. The Ygritte watches as carts of valuables are unloaded from the ships of a newly arrived company of Vikings. Many are missing horns and bear the scars of many battles, but while the Vikings bring much wealth to Austerland, they do little to encourage positive relations with the neighbors. Perhaps a change of policy is in order. I'm gonna say this one because it gives us another division.
Almina!
Get over there, please. So, moment. Our warriors love us. Our common deer are with us. But the freaking nobles hate us. And you know what? We're dead. They're dead. So, let's screw the nobility even more, shall we? I'm gonna say we're gonna get rid of the thralls because let's face it, slavery is so last century. The moment, low, dependable, and vilified still. Ooh, there's a storm brewing. Now, there's one downside to, if there's one thing I hate about Hearts of Iron 4 in general, is that in the early game, it's slow. There's not much you can do about it. You got to deal with doing focus trees and setting up your economy. But once things get hit, they get really hit. Thrall issue. There is no greater political, economic, or societal issue within all of Austerland than thraldom. Slavery has been institutionalized within Austerland for decades. And has become increasingly controversial over the years. There is no question that slavery is a barbaric practice, and there are few that would defend the practice on any solid moral grounds. But a large part of Austria's economy is propped up by the thralls. The nobles considered slavery a dirty but ultimately necessary practice, as a noble house is kept from the bankruptcy to the labor of the thralls. Freeing the thralls will indefinitely anger these nobles and will make the lands of many noble families unprofitable overnight. Oh, screw them. The nobles argue that the practice has become so ingrained into the economy that removing it will mean complete economic collapse, and that simply letting the status quo stand is the best option. Others have argued for a gradual phasing out of slavery to allow the economy to adjust to the loss of free labor. But many slaves still cry out for emancipation. And can Ygritte refuse their calls? We're not going communist, but I'm going to say we're going to phase out. We're going to phase it out. Simply because the nobles have a point. It is ingrained. If we kick them out now, it will destroy the economy. So it'll take a few years. It'll take a few years for our economy to be adapted to it. But it's a thing. But in the end, the slaves will all be free. And the nobles can go suck a dick. I also didn't want to go communist. For the life of me. Alright. Okay. Let's see. How long have I been recording? 41 minutes. Oh boy. I think this might be the last one. I'm gonna say they'll go up to a grand council. Then I'll call it an episode. So yeah, we'll get these things done. Then I'll call it an episode, and we'll do this again next week. Matters of the economy. With a few strokes of pen, then final contracts between Ygritte's government and the cropmen have finalized. The cropmen will support Ygritte's endeavors of economic modernization within Austerland, granting her access to the vast economic base to use in her efforts. In exchange for favorable government contracts and preferential trade agreements in the coming years. It had taken a lot of work to convince them that her plans had merit. Arguments over future tax laws and land reform had gone well into the night, more than once. But Ygritte's charisma proved greater than the merchants' reluctance. With the hard part over, all that remained was dragging Australia's economy kicking and screaming into modernity. A daunting task, but one that Ygritte knew that she was up to. Alright. Now, the Berserkers. What do non-existent, dependable? They love us. Alright. The Berserker issue. While the Huskarls might have the most professional training and the Vikings the most direct experience, there is no group of deer within Austerland that could hope to match the sheer ferocity of the Berserkers. Though few in number, there is no force on Griffonia that could stop a charge by a group of maddened Berserkers. Gaining their official support would grant any ruler of Austerland a great deal of respect from the common deer, as well as a powerful force of loyal shock troops. But so far, no Jarl has succeeded in this task, a trend that Ygritte intended to buckle. In the past, they have proven immune to promises of wealth and power, but perhaps another approach will work. She approached them, not as a Jarl, but as another resident of Austerland. She explained that the status quo could not be allowed to continue, and asked for their support. She did so plainly and without embellishment, making her plans as clear as day to them. She had never expected it to work, and yet somehow it did. perhaps her arguments were truly convinced them, or they had simply respected her earnestness compared to previous attempts of courting them. Nevertheless, they decided that their open support for her reforms doing wonders for the legitimacy of her rule. They love us. The housecarls. Whew. We're doing this badly. My goodness, that's we're actually building something, but oh dear lord, we're making 2 rifles a day. That's not good. Oh boy, Austerland. Okay, here we go. The housecarls. The housecarls of Austerland were made up of the sons and daughters of nobles with no prospect of inheriting any titles. They dedicated themselves entirely to the martial arts, receiving the best possible training and education that their noble families could afford, creating a force capable and loyal soldiers who could be placed in charge of the local retinues of the nobility. But as Austerland became increasingly threatened by neighboring nations looking for an easy target, it became clear to Ygritte that a national military was sorely needed, and to establish one, she would need to integrate the housecarls and the noble retinues to establish a strong core for armies to grow around. But the housecarls were proud enough that if she didn't frame her wording correctly, they would only see the reforms as a violation of their rights. So instead of centralizing the military bureaucracy, she was simply granting the housecarls the respect they deserved by removing the shackles of the nobility from them. After all, they only held their positions as long as the nobles favored them, and would quickly be relieved of command should they get too uppity. But by transferring to a centralized military under her command, they would not only secure their positions, but also gain the ability to advance their own agenda independent of the nobility. Thus, once she had presented the reforms under the pretense of addressing an issue with the lack of respect given to their housecarls, her plans had been met with unanimous approval. With the loyalty of the housecarls secured, the positions of the nobility had weakened considerably, and they would surely be feeling a lot more loyal knowing the housecarls were ready to detain them at the first sign of dissent. Okay, how that'll help us. We're still vilified. Okay. Alright, Grand Council. Yeah, the nobility here still. They still hate it. They still hate us. The last of the reading for this episode's upon us. Hey. The Ground Council. Although Ygritte was hardly the most popular figure amongst the nobility, she still expected that her relationship with them could be salvaged, but undisturbed by the cold looks from the few nobles that had bothered to answer her summons, she was quickly realizing how wrong she had been. Be it due to neglect, jealousy, or just sheer dislike of her character, the nobility had all but directly renounced her authority by refusing her summons. But if they had expected this to have the scourge of being affected her, then they had sorely miscalculated. If the fools wanted to ignore her authority, let them. They had made it quite clear that any efforts being appeasing them would being wasted by the lot of inbred lunatics. I mean, that's true. They would quickly learn how large a mistake they had made when she has consolidated her hold over the country. Alright, and that's gonna be it today. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. Comment and subscribe. Click the bell notification if you want to watch more of this content. And I think we're going for the commandeer. Because the nobility, screw them. They can go to hell. So, I don't know. Thank you all so much for watching. And this is the Typhoon. Signing off.